Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day despite everything that's been going on. Instead of my normal news video, I decided to, I guess, talk about the situation at hand. I'm sure a lot of people have been wondering or trying to figure this out, especially if you are just waking up or this is very early for you. You're probably going to be scratching your head as to try and figure out exactly what has been happening in the markets the last couple of hours. So without further ado, let's jump into it, and I hope this explains a little bit as to exactly what's been happening. So yeah, after days of stagnating at the price of $4,200 on Saturday afternoon, Bitcoin suddenly fell under $4,000, a highly touted level of support for the cryptocurrency's foremost asset. It wasn't clear why this bout of selling pressure occurred, but within minutes, sell-side orders pushed Bitcoin on Coinbase under $4,200, then $4,100, then $4,000, and all the way to $3,800 where the digital asset is situated at the time of writing. Here is the actual chart. It looks completely abysmal. Although this is worrying in the short term, it seems that a temporary floor of sorts has been found at $3,800, another key level mentioned by crypto traders incessantly. Again, while many have speculated, it is unclear whether there was a catalyst that triggered this sudden loss of support, sending Bitcoin plummeting into its third free fall in a week's time. So even last night, I remember looking at the prices, and I think Bitcoin had just skimmed the price of 4,000, and it's actually really funny because I had a strange feeling because I knew that the market would fall further because I thought about buying more. And the moment I thought about clicking the buttons to start buying more, I was like, okay, let me just wait until the morning. And lo and behold, this is where we are. So without having to show you all the prices because they are pretty much mimicking each other, a lot of them are taking a harder hit than other ones. This is simply because when there's less liquidity flowing around, the volume of Bitcoin is a lot higher than the volume of this. And therefore, it tends to take a harder hit. But on the same exact topic, obviously, we have people talking about where Bitcoin will eventually fall to or could still fall to. Speaking to CNBC, his name is Michael Morrow. He is the CEO at Genesis Trading, said that he believes Bitcoin will drop in value lower past the mid 3,000s and find its flat level at $3,000. There's currently support near the $4,000 level, but Morrow said that driven by selling pressure from people who got into Bitcoin quite recently, this support will not hold, observing that the support was tested twice in the past 2 days. It is widely believed that Bitcoin inherently has a floor, if you will, since it requires equipment and electricity for mining. Morrow was asked what could be the floor since Bitcoin price is already below the break-even cost for mining. To this, he said, and I quote, "The cost of mining is going to go down simply because the hash rate is dropping. The largest miners are willing to mine at a loss up until the difficulty adjustment happens on the Bitcoin network and the break-even cost adjusts over that time." We had news a couple of days ago as well, for those who were here, about first of all, people were saying that it was fake news, but I think I saw at least 8 different articles that came from a different viewpoint about the exact situation. So I don't assume that it was FUD, hate that word, or actual fake news. What happened is that the break-even number, if you will, when you're mining Bitcoin in particular, is quoted a couple of months ago. I think we had like $8,600. I think that had lowered already to around like $6,500. So the fact that the price is lower than 4,000 and the break-even cost of mining one Bitcoin is around 6,000, that means that miners are essentially, quote unquote, losing money for every single Bitcoin that they try to mine. So there was news that some of the major cryptocurrency mining factories around the world, simply because of the last 11 months and the prices have been going down, not only are they unable to pay their electricity for the actual, huge operations that they're running, but they can't pay back their investors. So a lot of them have been turning off their machines in hopes that the network difficulty of Bitcoin mining will essentially fall back to a lower level so that they can break even when they turn their miners back on. There was also news that somewhere in China, because of how outdated some of the miners are now, and they're also a waste of electricity from the newer miners that have been put out sometime this year and not the ones from 2 or 3 years ago, that they're pretty much selling a lot of their mining equipment for scrap metal simply because they're trying to figure out a way to recoup some of their money that they are trying to get back from crypto mining and stuff like that, because it's also a lot of, like I said before, a lot of people don't know a lot of the selling pressure that we've also seen this year. A lot of people, when you think about Bitcoin mining, you assume that these people are just mining crypto simply because they're trying to accumulate more Bitcoin, which is also true to a certain extent. But in order to pay your costs for being inside of a place like that, or to have when you have 15,000 computers, they cost a lot of money. So people have to sell off their Bitcoin in order to do that. And if you have some of the largest corporations and factories or whatever, let's say you even have 15, 20 places around the world who are mining cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, over the last 11 months, the price of Bitcoin continues to go down. They have to kind of recoup some of their losses in order to pay for the things that they're using to mine the Bitcoin. The support levels that we do then have are completely broken because these people are selling off Bitcoin in mass. And it's just this weird cycle that actually ends up flowing around itself back and forth. It's not really that nice. The hash rate will decrease as miners stop mining. The network tries to produce one block roughly every 10 minutes. It is expected to produce 2016 blocks roughly every 2 weeks. If it takes less time to mine 2016 blocks, difficulty increases, increasing mining costs. And if it takes more time, difficulty increases. Morrow implied that as the hash rate falls, difficulty will adjust, reducing mining costs. In the past couple of days, the $4,000 level has been tested, he says. He stated that a lot of the selling that has happened in early and mid 2018 is done by people who got into Bitcoin during or just before its bull run. Even with holders from 2016 are starting to liquidate and take some gains. Trade volumes are at just 50 to 60% of what they were when Bitcoin peaked last year. We have panic selling going on. I mean, there's not really much more you can kind of say about that. This was the moment, if you can see kind of right over here for those who are looking at the screen, I'm showing an old chart from around mid-August, somewhere around that time when Bitcoin shot up to around 8,200. It was somewhere around that level. There was a euphoric, very euphoric moment for a lot of us, simply because we thought that we were going to be able to pass by the $10,000 mark. And $10,000 has been quoted for quite some time as the mental barrier that we need to break. We are well below that right now. So now we are in like a reverse mental barrier, if that kind of makes any kind of sense. We need Bitcoin to go as low as it possibly can in order for people to simply say, I can't wait any longer. I have to get into the market. The price just simply won't fall any lower. I.e., if Bitcoin was $10, everyone in the world would be rushing to buy it. If Bitcoin was 100, everyone would be rushing to buy it. If Bitcoin was 3,600, maybe not the same. So it has to hit a certain point where mentally people just won't let it fall anymore. Or rather, when is it a good buy? We had a lot of people talking about that Bitcoin could potentially hit around 1,500, and people thought that that was the ultimate break even. If Bitcoin hits anywhere below 2,000, and I don't mean this jokingly, I'm probably going to empty out my bank account as much as I possibly can. I may even ask some family members to pitch in or something like that as like an early Christmas and or birthday gift. Simply because I think even where we are right now is, I think if you want, my opinion, I think is relatively okay where we are. I know that sounds completely insane. I know it sounds like, oh my gosh, he must be on something. I'm not, I promise you. I think we hit 20,000 far too quick. I can definitely see a 3,000 price. Remember, I tried to explain in yesterday's video as best I could in my in the way that I talk, that even from where we were last year, Bitcoin was 900. So this is still an amazing amount of gains if you have been in the market for this long. The issue is that we had a large amount of people who flew into the market when Bitcoin was first shooting up. And now these people are in a situation where they think that crypto is never going to come back. And yeah, that's kind of at least part of where this situation is starting to come from. On the same exact topic, a lot of people in the crypto space aren't really paying attention to the other side of the coin. The crypto community can be forgiven for concluding that Bitcoin is in trouble given the past few weeks of losses in the market, but taking 2 steps back and checking the action next door at the traditional stock markets, we see that the top tech stocks are also not looking too good. These are the tech stocks of Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Facebook, and Alphabet, or Google. According to the New York Times, there is a turn against tech stocks on Wall Street. The New York Times explains this further by stating that, and I do quote, investors have dumped shares of Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google parent Alphabet. $822 billion in value has been wiped off their combined market value since the end of August. Based on the losses from each company's high point in recent months, more than $1 trillion in value has been erased. Facebook, Apple, and Amazon have endured the greatest declines, all down $250 billion or more from their respective peaks. That's not super important, just more prices. What we have now, for those who at least try to pay attention, I mean, it's always, it's not a bad idea to pay attention to traditional markets, even if you are not in them, simply because our markets are correlated to a certain point. What we have right now is a situation where people believe that not even on the tech side, that one, the stock market might be in trouble. A lot of the tech stocks have been called overvalued for years and years. So when we got to the point, I think it was Amazon and Apple this year that were valued as trillion-dollar companies, people were waving red flags and they said something is wrong, especially when major companies like Apple over the last couple of months, or rather, let's say year and a half, 2.25 years, haven't been really doing as well as people think that they are. Their computers and stuff really aren't selling as well as they used to before. Their iPhones aren't really selling as well. They're trying to constantly push new, wider or shorter or longer or thinner, or this does this, or this camera is a lot better. But people are realizing that you can get the same kind of phone, if not sometimes 2 to 3 times better, from an Android, and is usually maybe 1/4 or 1/3 the price, and that's not me joking either. Apple has lost a bit of its luster. People are afraid of Amazon, and I mean that as far as Amazon is really taking over the entire world. I think his name is Jeff Bezos, he's the CEO of Amazon. I think he's worth around like $150 billion or something right now, and there's a lot of fear that Amazon could be potentially creating their own mini monopoly. I'm pretty sure with all that money, they know exactly what they're doing. It's pretty much that Amazon started as a book company many years ago, and now they pretty much control everything. And there are talks that they may be trying to go too far. You may have heard from other, I don't know how much or how many of you really keep up with U.S. like economic politics and stuff like that. A lot of people aren't too happy about the spread that Amazon has, especially as they're expected to actually completely take over the world if nothing is done within the next 10 years. Kind of goes the same for other, tech things as well. Facebook isn't having the best time simply because they've been taking everyone's data and then saying that they haven't been doing it, and then trying to figure out ways to act like they're not taking everyone's data. I mean, it's just a million and one things. The correlation comes from a lot of investors, when they see stocks falling like this and things do get extremely shaky, as in this graph right here, people or investors try sometime or tend to go to things that they deem a bit more stable, and those can be government bonds, simply because the bond yield will be 1 to 2%, maybe 2.5% per year, and that is seen as more stable than something that can get you a return from here to here from April to September. So therefore, the idea is start dumping their money into government issued bonds, or sometimes they begin to simply buy up gold and silver, not pamphlets, but pieces of paper or documents or whatever that say that they actually hold that gold and silver. Historically, this has kind of been true. People stop trying to be greedy, and they try to dump their money desperately into other things that are a lot more stable, that have a more not solidified return, but like something like for a fact that you'll get this exact number. Kind of like when you put your money into a bank account and they tell you, if you have your money in here for 24 months, you will get 0.1%, and you go, okay, that's definitely that's a number that I can look at and know. The point is, this has been happening. This has been accelerating. There we go. We have a lot of people who are asking if a recession is coming. And this is, to be completely fair, this has been happening since around 2011. There's been a lot of chatter about this. 2008 was obviously horrible for a lot of people. By the time we got to 2010, 2010. I want to say I remember I heard about Bitcoin on TV and I completely dismissed it, and I think I even laughed about it because the idea of digital money just simply made no sense to me. I couldn't figure out the reason why anybody would need it. By around 2011, news of a recession had completely gone overboard around the entire world. People were starting to come out, and other analysts, which is the really interesting part. And this is part of the reason why I don't understand why Nurio Rubini, whatever his name is so against cryptocurrencies when clearly he should just be focusing on the normal stock market, because this is where his expertise, as it were, lies. And people kept on saying that what happened in 2008, like, there was nothing that actually fixed it. All that happened was people got taxed more. Those taxes then went to the banks and stuff like that, and it pretty much patched up any bleeding that they might have had experienced during 2008. And I remember around the time I got into cryptocurrencies, this was when, like, it was full blown. I can't find the blogs or the websites or the channels I was looking at where people were talking about the entire situation. But it was widely believed that the next recession would be as bad or worse than what we had in 2008. So now we're getting into a scenario where no one, or rather a lot of people, are falling over themselves trying to figure out exactly what is happening in the traditional markets to be able to try and figure out what's happening to cryptocurrencies, because they believe, or rather it's been believed for some time, that if we can figure out exactly if there is a direct correlation between cryptocurrencies and the traditional stock market, i.e. if the stock market is going down, does crypto then go up? But now we see right now, at least for the moment, or maybe it's just weird coincidence, that Bitcoin and the rest of the cryptocurrency market just happens to be tumbling down, and it just happens to be coinciding with this crash, or in, the crash that is happening to the normal stock market. Like, maybe they're just falling in line with each other, and therefore this is why people see a bit of a correlation, because people think that people could be taking their money out of the cryptocurrency market as a way to get out of what they're calling, like, risky investments, because we know that crypto is very risky, and this could be one of the other reasons why people are talking about why crypto continues to fall. Because if you dabble in the traditional stock market and also dabble in cryptocurrencies, you may see the entire thing as completely risky, as unstable. 11 months to have prices, continuously going down is not great for a lot of investors. It's just a situation where we may have fallen into a slump while the rest of the world markets are also falling into a slump, and therefore we are taking a huge hit to the face as well. I mean, no one can tell you exactly when the bottom is going to be. A lot of the prices I was talking about before are very close to hitting where they were. I bought a couple days ago, and the moment after that happened, the prices dropped, and now they're dropping again. I'm going to see if I can pick up a bit more. I'm getting completely off topic. I have to finish the video. So on this as well, our articles trying to don't mind the actual like doom and gloom picture right there, trying to figure out exactly what specifically is going on in the market. It says over the last 10 days, the cryptocurrency markets have endured a massive sell-off across the board. There are a number of reasons that have led to highly bearish sentiments in the market, but seeing red has been difficult for many, as the value of Bitcoin and numerous altcoins have continued to decline to depressing levels, and a certain amount of panic has ensued. Here are the charts. Looks panic-like. Cointelegraph has reached out to various industry professionals to explore the reasons behind this most recent slump in the market and what to possibly expect in the coming weeks and months. To, I guess, relatively skim over this without having to read too much. One of the main reasons that people are talking about is the Bitcoin Cash hard fork. They think it was far too much pressure on the market at one time. We didn't need, I won't say that we don't need Bitcoin Cash, but that in itself has been a huge thing in the cryptocurrency space. But I will say for certain, and this is just my own personal, unprofessional opinion, we did not need Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's vision, especially since if you've been paying attention to the news at all, people are talking about that the original Bitcoin Cash fork is now the declared winner of the entire thing because no one is announcing support for Bitcoin Cash Satoshi Vision. A lot of people have switched their mining support exclusively to the good old Bitcoin Cash and also to the Bitcoin network in support of those two showing that they're not supporting the other one. But the dark cloud that weighed over everyone's head as this was happening, especially when you have a market that's already completely fragile, you don't need Bitcoin to have another child, and for that child to be a brat and nobody to want that child, and then to have there was far too much fighting in the middle of it. And I told you, a lot of people who have gotten into the market, they don't understand the significance or insignificance of certain hard forks that Bitcoin has experienced. And when you see something with a Bitcoin name and you read about it, skimming it over, and you hear that it's going to split in half, therefore doubling the amount of coins that were on it before, and the people who created these coins are having an internal struggle, it is not going to bode well for the rest of the market, because a lot of the newer investors have no idea what in the world is going on. All they see, imagine if you just got into stocks and stuff like that, and you saw that Apple created a new stock, and it was called Maple. And then Maple broke apart and had like Maple 2. And all you saw on TV was these two adults screaming at each other, talking about, I'm going to end you. I'm going to make sure that I destroy your entire company and your stock. I'm going to destroy everything that comes with you. You would have no idea what's going on. All you would see is that your money is in trouble. And the rest of the market didn't. Even I'm sure more seasoned investors probably didn't care for everything that was going on as well. Another part is regulatory pressures. For some reason, I think this has has had less of an effect the last couple of months. I think at the beginning of the year when we heard about any type of regulations, I think that was a huge blow to everybody, simply because it was something that not that we didn't expect, but crypto had run rampant for a couple of years by itself, running through the fields, having a good old happy day. And then someone put a leash on us and told us that they were going to tighten that leash every single time that we tried to have a bit more fun. A lot of people thought that in 2017, people thought that ICOs were it. Like, people thought that we had found this new method of fundraising that was going to circumvent the governments and stuff like that, and therefore everything was going to be great. SEC completely stomped down on that. They haven't given us any real information as to exactly what's happening with specific cryptocurrencies, which is also a problem. The market, a lot of analysts believe that the market could have moved months ago upward if we had proper clarification from the SEC as to exactly what Ethereum was, because we still don't have a proper, we had one person from the SEC talking about what they believed that Ethereum was, and then we had a couple weeks later them talking about, there were no official announcements as for XRP, for like at least if they had done it for the top 20 coins. It's not that difficult. Just give us a thumbs up, thumbs down. The market would have been in a much better position, because people would have known exactly where crypto could have gone. If you are a security, you could have then been listed on a stock exchange, because those are what securities are. Or if you were also a security and Coinbase got their security license, you could also be listed with Coinbase. If they did not have the security license, you could be listed here, you could be listed there, you could be listed in other parts of the world that already had this thing. But that is another completely, this entire year has just been indecisiveness, and I think even the Bitcoin Cash Satoshi Vision hard fork pretty much came down to the market going down. I feel like there's just so many so much emotion and so many sentiments flowing around in the market, and this is how people are kind of like lashing out and kind of if we had prices going up, we'd be in a completely different market. And I don't mean price wise, I mean even euphoric wise, and as far as more unity and stuff like that. When prices were going up, for those who were not here at the beginning of 2017 until November, there was an intense amount of unity in the market. People were still kind of talking about my coin is better, but there was never really a point where people were like, my coin is the only coin that's going to make it, like we kind of have right now. On top of that as well, with the SEC discussion and regulatory pressure, is the thing from Tether, which was also in the news, and I decided not to add it in this video as well, because I'm tired of saying the word Tether. It was that I think someone from the SEC or something like that is going to be looking into it. There was also something from the Department of Justice who's also going to be looking into Tether to try to figure out if it's actually real, because if Tether isn't real, for those who once again weren't here, rather, if Tether has been fraudulent in 2017, it was the idea that Tether was being printed simply out of thin air to be able to buy up Bitcoin and therefore decreasing the amount of Bitcoin that was in the space. But it also leads to the fact that people were then possibly, allegedly, were creating fake money to buy up Bitcoin to push up the price. And this fake money just continued to kind of float around in the atmosphere while more Bitcoin was eaten up, if you will. Global pressures as well. I don't think global central banks tightening up their policies has had that much of an effect. I think a large amount of it has recently had to do with Bitcoin Cash fork. I think earlier this year, it definitely had to do with the SEC and blah, 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 so and so and so. And I think the fork was the knife in the back of the entire market. And I don't think that Brexit really had to do that much. That's just my personal opinion. I really don't see Brexit actually contributing a huge amount to it. Like, I could understand uncertainty, especially as the pound fell a bit during the last bunch of talks with the prime minister, what have you. But I don't think the Brexit has been contributing, a huge amount to the drop of the cryptocurrency market. There was something else here. Yeah, the global stock market is completely falling. This is also another thing. It could just be a million and one things. Like, no one knows the exact extent of everything that's happening with all of this. To give you a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, there are a lot of people who do still think that crypto is on its way up. We need to simply just hit that bottom amount. It's going to happen eventually. Like I said, we're going to get to a point. Bitcoin can't hit $100 without people completely buying up as much of it as they possibly can. Even $1,000 is completely, I think, not that it's out of the realm of Bitcoin hitting this number, but that people wouldn't completely buy it up. Like, we would need news that Bitcoin had hit $1,000 and the blockchain exploded. That would cause Bitcoin to completely crumble to $1. But as of now, as the blockchain is incredibly strong and is incredibly robust, I don't see much of that happening. The point is, for those who are new to finance, I commend you for staying this long. Like, I really do. I know it's been very difficult. We've had 75% drops before. This isn't anything new. I know it does seem, not even seem, I know it's completely insane. That people are still holding strong with stuff like this, so that we still have people who are talking about that the market is gonna go back up after all of this. I know, yeah, I don't really know how to comfort you anymore, and I mean, this is just how crypto is. At least, and I'll put it this way. When you look at the larger picture and when you look at what analysts are talking about as far as the cryptocurrency prices around the year 2020, 2021, there are a lot of echoes about the exact same thing. And it comes down to when we've hit this mega depressing price and Bitcoin has hit its bottom, the furthest point to depression. And we have all these major institutional investors and other people getting into the cryptocurrency space. At some point, crypto is going to be valued in the trillions. And that's a trillion with a T. And that's a S at the end of that trillion as well. And when we get to that point, when Bitcoin is over, potentially in this mythical future where Bitcoin is over $100,000 one day, we'll see a major stabilization of prices and more so a stabilization of, we'll have so much liquidity in the market that things like this will potentially be a major thing of the past. As of right now, we kind of have to walk through the mud in order to be able to get to the beach. Thank you all for watching. I hope I helped a little tiny bit. I know the moment I woke up, I was like, okay, I'm going to need to explain this to a couple of people because I know a lot of people have been very jittery the last couple of days. I have a friend, hello if you're listening, who sent me a message yesterday and he was asking me what my opinion was on the market, and I tried to explain as best I could because it's not just one thing. It's an accumulation of multiple things that have been happening for the last couple of months. The market's very jittery. People are very annoyed and anxious as to exactly what's happening. Everybody wants to make a profit, and when the profit just isn't there, we get things like Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's vision, and then also the stock market's also falling at the exact same time. It's just kind of everything at once. Let's hope for bluer skies as we enter into the week. Hope you all enjoyed. regardless of what's been happening. Hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening, regardless of the prices. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. I do appreciate all the support more than you could possibly begin to imagine. Thank you once again for watching. And yeah, I'll talk to you all soon. See you.